Welcome back to FUELSCast, a podcast by Mansfield Energy. I'm your host, Sydney Casey. Today we have a special episode highlighting one of our very own, Mansfield Service Partners. Mansfield Service Partners is a leading fuel supply and logistics company delivering fuel additives, lubricants and greases, equipment, and marine fuel to businesses across various industries. With a strong reputation for reliability and expertise, MSP can help you get the job done. Joining me today is Thomas Browder, Director of Sales at MSP. Thomas brings extensive industry knowledge and firsthand insight into what makes MSP a trusted partner for fuel solutions. Welcome to FUELSCast. We are in Houston, Texas, out at Mansfield Service Partners, and we have Thomas Browder in the room with us today. He is our Director of Sales out at Mansfield Service Partners. Thomas, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to MSP.
Well, first of all, Sydney, thanks for asking me to join you guys today, talk a little bit about MSP. I am the Director of Lubricant Sales here at MSP South, right? And my counterpart, if everybody's probably heard his name, is Ryan Pearson. He's up in the north. Yeah, how did I get to MSP? Kind of an interesting story, kind of a lifelong career with Shell before venturing outside of Shell into the lubricants world for distributors such as Mansfield. Career has always been about lubricants, right? Ever since I started with Shell, and I was with that organization for about 18 years. Uh, Dealt with a lot of distributors and really enjoyed that side of the business. So when an opportunity came around to actually join a distributor, a powerful one such as Mansfield, say no more. That was an easy decision to make and a switch to make.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about the journey of how MSP came to be, if you will. So I know it used to be called O'Rourke. Now it's Mansfield Service Partners. Tell us a little bit about that history.
Yeah. So, interesting story. O'Rourke actually started in the Houston market around 1932. And it actually started with one single gas station. And from there, it grew into a full offering lubricants and fuel distributor. Very well-known name throughout the country, and also a very, very chosen distributor by Shell, right? So it was one of the original alliance distributors with Shell, now called the Prestige distributors, such as MSP is now. And then Dennis O'Rourke decided he was going to sell his business. So in 2018, November of 2018, Mansfield purchased O'Rourke Petroleum, and that's how the whole thing became with MSP in this market.
That's awesome. So for people who are familiar with the Mansfield Energy Corporation, we have Mansfield Oil Company headquartered out of Gainesville, Georgia,
Right.
offices all across North America, essentially, because we have one in Canada as well. But how does that differ geographical footprint-wise from the operations that you guys have
Sure.
for MSP?
So a couple of, or one key thing that's very different from Mansfield Oil Company versus Mansfield Service Partners. Mansfield Service Partners is very asset heavy, right? So from a standpoint of delivering fuels, DEF, and lubricants, Mansfield Service Partners actually has its own trucks, right? Where MOC is operating through the D1 distributor network. So you have other entities that are partnered with Mansfield Oil Company that are actually making the final delivery of fuel or of DEF to the actual customers. So MSP is very different since we have our own equipment, we have our own facilities, warehouse, and we operate, by delivering directly to our customers with our own particular pieces of equipment, right?
Yep. Explain a little bit about geographical footprint for Mansfield Service Partners. We're obviously in Houston, Texas. That's the headquarters for MSP. Where
Yes.
else are you operating out of?
Yeah. So Houston, obviously, Dallas, Fort Worth market. And I'm talking about actual Mansfield Service Partner facilities in those particular areas regionally that we operate. And of course, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. We have Tyler, Texas. Through a recent acquisition of an organization called Fleet Lube, we have access to the San Antonio market now. The same stands for our Corpus Christi market, but also we have our own facility out in West Texas as well. Of course, you know that Mansfield extends to Ohio, out of Troy, Ohio. And of course, we have operations up in Roseville, Minnesota. And lastly, we have operations in Aurora, Colorado.
So if a customer calls from Virginia,
Mhm.
can you service them?
It depends. Right. So number one, if it's a fuels play, right, we would probably reference them or at least help them get in touch with somebody from Mansfield Oil Company that can utilize the D1 network. If it's lubricants related, we do have a mechanism or a program granted to us by Shell Lubricants that allows to affect that particular area. But there are a series of, thresholds that we have to meet in order to do that because there's already an established Shell Lubricants distributor in that market. If we ourselves cannot help out directly, we're happy to at least recommend that customer to a fellow Shell distributor in that market on the lubricant side.
Okay. So, since you mentioned Shell distributor, let's talk a little bit about what the prestige status means. How did we get that designation and what does it mean for our business?
Yeah, the prestige is basically the highest order, if you will, from Shell to grant a contract to a respective distributor. Of course, Mansfield Service Partners is a prestige distributor. We have full access, obviously, the best pricing from Shell on all their lubricants. And I think right now, I might be mistaken, but I think there's maybe only about 20 to 25 prestige distributors in the United States, right? So it's kind of pared down to only, some of the best, largest distributors get that type of prestige acknowledgement from Shell.
And is that only based in Texas for us for the Shell partnership, or is it kind of far reaching in all of our
That is
regions?
that is Texas based, yes.
Got it. Now, another division of MSP is OMS,
Yes.
and it still goes by the O'Rourke Marine Service. Tell us a little bit about that division, where they operate, and kind
Yep.
of what they do.
Well, they're based here in Houston, Texas, right? So their offices are here at our corporate, and you're correct, it's O'Rourke Marine Services. They operate a dock for refueling of brown water or marine vessels that can come into the dock. They also handle a considerable amount of depth for these particular vessels as well. And lastly, they also do sell Shell lubricants to some of these customers. And that looks like that's a potential piece of business that can grow significantly in the future. Very, very solid business in the Mansfield portfolio. They deliver excellent results quarter after quarter. And they're a good group of people, and the customers they have are unique because they are marine type customers, and they typically are very loyal to OMS because of the high degree of service that they provide their customers as well.
Nice. I imagine there's not many companies out there that have kind of all of those solutions wrapped up under.
It's kind of rare. Yeah, there you could probably count on maybe one hand or two hands, the maximum amount of organizations around the US that bring the entire portfolio of bevy of services that Mansfield Service Partner can deliver.
Right. Let's talk about our customers for a minute.
Hmm.
Tell us about what kind of verticals are we servicing, industries are we servicing? What's a typical customer look like?
Yeah, our primary verticals are, well, it's actually everything that we can, right? So, from a fuel standpoint or a lubricant standpoint, that's the industrial side of business, commercial, construction, passenger car, um, rental type companies, anything and in anywhere that's going to require a commercial fuels relationship or a lubricants relationship. We have those verticals that we do operate with on a daily basis.
And how are we differentiating ourselves from just the regular Joe off the street?
Yeah, and that's where the work comes in, right? Because whether it's a Shell branded product or other lubricants that our other competitors offer, they're quality products. What really stands above head and shoulders, right, for MSP is the total value proposition that we try to put together for our customers. And that encompasses complete programs, right? From top to bottom. I think one of our objectives in sales is really to look at it. How can we affect an operational improvement for our customers, not just a point of sale or a quick win, right? We look deeper in trying to determine, is there something we can help our customers with in overcoming problems that they might be going through? But also beyond that, how do we really build and affect a relationship that's long term? We want our customers to, number one, not only join us at the beginning, but become a long-term friend and partner of our organization and depend on us,
Mm.
right? Because we want to fill a gap that they might have. And that's our number one mission in going after these customers and trying to build that relationship. where they really look at us as a long-term part of their business that's constantly looking out for how do we improve their business,
Hmm.
right? Not just to run and maintain year to year, month to month, but really how do we evolve with them, whether they're upsizing or downsizing, whether they're entering into two new markets that they've not before. How do we continuously grow alongside them and always become that partner that always affects their business where they see the bottom line improve on their side as well?
And we're talking about customer pain points. Obviously, they're calling you guys and saying, XYZ is
Yeah,
my problem.
right.
What are the pain points for them that we're able to help?
And I wish it were that simple,
Yeah.
right? I wish they would call us and say, we have problems with this, this, and this, and I would like you to come out and try to solve that problem for me. Usually what we find out is our customers aren't aware necessarily of some of their pain points, right? They might be coming to the table with one problem that they might have. That's where we kind of come in with these additional types of services and questions to try to uncover, is it just one problem or do you have a multitude of issues that we can affect? Um, that's where the relationship starts, right? Because when you can identify those type of problems or concerns that they might have that they're unaware of, that's where it grows into really improving an operation, really providing a benefit for them. And then that's where that leads into a long-term relationship because while you might solve, right, a certain amount of problems or issues that they're having, the goal is to continually identify other pain points that they're unaware of or that conditions might have changed where something now is a problem. Our partnership extends to the point where we're helping to identify them with our customer and helping them to overcome those particular problems. And like I said, that's where the long-term relationship comes in, where we become something essential as far as their daily operations go.
Walk us through a case study. You don't have to name names, but of a partnership that we have with a customer where we're really offering the full suite of solutions at
Right.
MSP.
Well, without identifying companies, this particular entity that I'm thinking about is in the industrial sector. It's one of the largest customers we have in our portfolio. And essentially, we are ensconced in every asset of or every piece of their business. This comes through a key account manager that handles the account that knows their business top to bottom. We spend a considerable amount of time working with the customer to make sure that they're up to date on all their KPIs, on our performance with them. We also have, multitudes of business reviews. So they depend on us as another set of eyes on where their money is going and how their equipment is operating, right? In addition to that, we're also in a position where we can propose different types of services to them that would improve their business, right? And they're very open to that because, like I said, it's become a relationship where they're very dependent on Mansfield to help them run their business on a daily basis. Those are the type of relationships like I was talking about. Like I said, they do a significant volume with them, us, and it's both in DEF, it's in lubricants, and it's in fuel. Um, and it's just one of those relationships that we actually try to use as a model, right? How do we take this business relationship and the trust that they've given us? How do we take that and how do we apply the same type of model to our other customers, big or small? But it's gonna still have to be custom tuned for those specific customers because we can't just build a template that works for everybody. But it's a good flagship customer that we learn a lot about, and we've helped them learn a lot about how their business runs as well.
Now, what about emergency type situations? Obviously, being in Houston, you have the risk of hurricanes all the time, I'm sure. Uh, at MOC, we have an emergency response program
Mhm.
specifically designed for natural disasters and the works.
Right.
How do y'all address those type
It's
situations?
kind of basically the same thing. It's right. It's a business continuity plan,
Mhm.
but it really starts with our customers. So for instance, right, we're coming into summer very soon, right? And that's going to be hurricane season here on the Gulf Coast of Texas. It all starts with those conversations now with those respective customers about what does their plan look like? And what we find, with the exception of some of our larger customers, like the one I was talking about that's industrial based, a lot of our customers don't have necessarily a very concise business continuity plan. So it all starts with what are their needs looking like? What could potentially happen to their business if a natural disaster struck? Our job is to take their feedback and suggest things that we can do proactively before the season is even here to prepare them. The same goes for ourselves, right? When we look at our own capabilities in our supply chain, we are already in a position of looking forward on what do we have to do to be that continuous supplier, whether those type of tragedies strike this particular market or not. But back to my original point, it's really developing a co-joined plan with our customers, understanding what their needs are, putting suggestions in place proactively on what we could do to help them mitigate the season, and then put that plan into effect. But like I said, that all starts with understanding our customers the best way we possibly can. What business are they engaged in? How critical is their business to the community? And starting now to have those conversations and acting on a plan to prepare them for the particular season. That's just an example. But, of course, in the Gulf Coast, we have to have those kind of conversations based on the weather that we could potentially run into when the season does come upon us.
And are there other natural disaster or type emergency situations that y'all face out in Texas
Sure.
that
Well, I mean, just recently we had some pretty bad dust storms that
Mhm.
hit West Texas. Number one is the safety and security of our facilities to make sure that our folks, our personnel, all the family are taken care of first. Then it extends to our customers. But in those type of situations, nothing could be planned, right? We know that they have higher winds this time of the year in West Texas, but nobody could have predicted that the high winds of the degree that hit that particular area were going to happen. The only thing you can do in that from a partnership standpoint is to reach out to your customers as quickly as possible to make sure that they're good. Is there anything that we can do on our behalf to affect making sure that they're in supply of whatever they need? Another example is Houston had snow this year, right? Which is very rare for us. That shuts Houston down because we're simply not prepared to remove ice or snow from the roads. The same thing happened to Dallas, right? And I know, for instance, Dallas was handled brilliantly by operations up there and making sure that we were on the road as soon as it was safe for us, right, and our trucks to roll, to make sure that our customers were back in the product as soon as possible. In that type of a situation, though, because of the ice and snow that they experienced as well, our customers are relatively slow to respond as well because they can't get into their facilities. The best you can do in those type of circumstances is to be ready when they are back in their facilities, that we can affect our fuel and lubricant deliveries as soon as possible. Again, very difficult to plan for. You have very, very short notice, unlike a hurricane where you might have a week to prepare for that. But it still starts with those contingency plans being put into effect and understood well before those type of events occur.
the ice storm brings up the conversation about fuel additives.
Mm,
That's something obviously that
yes.
Mansfield Oil does. How do y'all address
Same
additives over
there.
here?
Yeah,
Same way?
we have those conversations with our customers. Actually, they probably preemptively have those conversations with us first because they know with the cold weather coming, diesel additives are very important to prevent anti-gelling and other situations that could jam up their equipment or operations. So again, we already have that in our foresight when that type of season rolls around, along with our customers. Our job is to execute on their demands to make sure that they do have the additive in their fuel when they're ready to go, so they don't have any type of operations affected by freezing or sub-freezing weathers that could affect their fuel.
What are you guys seeing sustainability wise? I know some companies are hot and heavy working on sustainability goals. The current presidential administration has feelings about sustainability. And
Mhm.
so some are moving away, some are pushing forward with sustainability. How are you guys meeting or helping customers meet their sustainability goals?
Yeah, so we get those questions a lot from our customers, right? What are you guys doing to help us with our sustainability goals? And the thing that we have to stress is we have to walk in every conversation with open ears. What is it that you're required as far as a customer of ours to achieve? What are you trying to achieve as far as sustainability goes from a long-term plan? Our objective is to listen to that very closely and design our processes and our services around what can we do to accommodate those requirements, right? Again, it's like so many other facets of our business. Having the right way of having those conversations with the customers sooner than later to understand where their strategic drive is going, and that includes sustainability. It's like I said, when we form these type of partnerships and relationships, we always have to be on the forefront of asking what next? What can we do for you? Right? How can we affect change for you? Right? Um, and the same applies for ourselves, right? What can we do as an organization ourselves as Mansfield Service Partners or MSP? What can we do about, infecting our own sustainability? I can speak for programs that we've already put into effect to try to maximize our efficiencies. And when I talk about maximizing our efficiencies, how do we go about our daily activities of delivering product to our customers more efficiently? And by becoming more efficient, you are thereby going down the path of sustainability, right? Less resources consumed in trying to do so. It's not very easy because we have so many customers spread out through our particular areas of operation. But in addition to that, they have needs that pop up, like you said, 24/7, right? That they're not aware of. But how do you still try to maximize your efficiencies while still accommodating those emergency needs? But those are some of the things that we're looking forward. It's not ever something that's going to go away, regardless of whatever administration. Those are still goals that we're going to have to try to find a way to achieve. We just always have to keep our eyes up on what's next and progress towards that.
What percentage would you say of customers have sustainability initiatives?
I would say, just from my lens, I would say probably about maybe 50 to 60% now have some type of sustainability goal.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of those are being put into effect to the degree that we can help them with, but a lot of it is still on the drawing board, right? It's something that they're still moving towards, and they rightfully don't know how they're necessarily going to achieve it either.
Yeah.
But our job is to make sure that we're side by side as they do move into these type of goals. What can we do as an organization to help you get to the goal that you're trying to achieve? If it's something that we can affect, whether it's fuel or lubricants or reliability type programs, we want to have a front seat in that conversation. But there's obviously going to be some things that they're doing that are far outside of our realm that we cannot necessarily affect today. However, we still have to have our minds on the what is. It may not be a market that we currently engage in, but is it something that we can look at as a potential venture going forward that meets the particular needs of our customers, just like anything else that we engage with them on a daily basis?
Now we've talked about sustainability. Let's talk technology for a few minutes. We have some fancy technologies here that we like to use: smart trucks,
Sure.
smart tank.
Right.
Walk us through what those are, how we leverage those for our
Well,
customers.
let me start with Smart Tank, right? So that is essentially tank monitoring. We're very proud of that program. In fact, every asset that we put out for our customers will include a smart tank monitor. That allows us and the customer to actually monitor their tank levels, whether it's fuel or lubricants or DEF, so that we can proactively schedule deliveries for them on their behalf, right? But we can do that more efficiently. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have a customer on the lubricant side that has a 400-gallon tank. Historically, the way lubricants distributors have operated is they have a 400-gallon tank. We would route a truck maybe once a week just to go by. On one particular week, they might only need 100 gallons. The following week, they might need 200 gallons, but the third week, they might only need 50 gallons. We still have a truck going out there delivering large or small actual deliveries, right? So the same amount of fuel is being consumed. There's a driver still involved week after week after week. By moving to smart tank technology, right, we don't need to go out there every week, right? If they have a 400-gallon tank, we'd rather be in a position to go out there maybe every 2 or 3 weeks and bring 300 gallons in one delivery as opposed to 50 here, 100 there, or maybe 150 here. That makes us more efficient, right? Our truck is not going to that same customer on a weekly basis. We can route smarter. We can do things better. It saves our organization time, and money, but also the safety factor is increased because our truck is not going there where on a weekly basis. But it also helps the customer because they can monitor their tanks and they can run their own metrics on how often their tank is being refilled.
I guess that was my next question. And they see the data as
Absolutely.
well. Same that
We're watching their data, they're watching their data.
right.
But like I said, the metrics that they can pull out of their data help them understand their spend, how often we're in on top of their facility to affect these particular deliveries. It's another data point that helps make them smarter about how they're running their business operationally, right? So there's benefits for them as well, besides running out of product.
Mhm.
Smart truck, another technology that allows us to affect a quicker turnaround on invoicing to our customers on the fuel side. This is a technology that will be adapted to our lubricant side in the future, but it's already something that's paying dividends, right, on our fuel side by point of sale almost of delivery of product and having the ability to invoice that almost immediately, right? And again, the metrics prove out, right? Because we can see how efficient we are with our trucks, how we're routing our trucks, the deliveries being affected by ourselves to our customers. Again, that's data that we can share with our customer that shows our efficiencies, how we can improve upon those, and we might discover pain points along the way that the customer wasn't aware of that we can highlight through these type technologies.
So with the inventory management piece, is it people on our team watching those levels and saying, "Hey, you need a delivery within the next week," or is it the customer reaching out to us saying, "Oh, I'm noticing the inventory is low, need to schedule." How's
Right.
that relationship
The
go?
end game is us watching their tanks for them and affecting the delivery for them, right? So in other words, we're putting the order in for that respective customer without them having to pick up a phone or send an email or a text, where we become that integrated partner on those type of deliveries. Yes, there are a lot of customers that are still in the mindset of, I want to watch this and I'll tell you. But the ultimate goal is to get them away from that. Look, we're trying to be your total partner here, right? And part of that total partnership includes that inventory management on your side. Again, that goes into that value proposition we discussed earlier, where we're more effective as their partner by doing so, right? Bottom line, it's one less thing that they have to worry about because they have a multitude of things to keep their business operating on a daily basis. What if we can take one less thing off of their table that they don't have to worry about today because my partner has my back, has me covered, and they won't let me down, right? Those are a couple of the things where the technology helps us advance even further into that integrated, long-term valued partner that we're trying to achieve with our customers.
And it goes back to that saying, "Keep the main thing the main thing."
Yep.
It allows them to focus on their core business. We focus on our core business, which is helping them.
Yep.
So,
In other words, you worry about strategy. We'll worry about the tactical
yeah.
aspects of your business.
Yeah, that's really nice. So, Thomas, what's next for MSP? Anything coming down the pipeline people should be aware about?
Well, I mean, besides, the fact that we want to become even bigger, better, and stronger, in what we do currently, the things to look forward is, like I said, down the road, we're looking at smart truck being integrated into the lubricants world. We're looking at additional reliability programs that we can bring to the table for some of our industrial customers. The partnership with Shell is a bright one because, like I said, Shell brings so many resources as far as the lubricants blender. Uh, we want to leverage additional programs that they have. There's a lot of growth available to us. The key for myself as a director, or Justin, my manager is a senior director, or Ryan is the other director on the lubricant side, is really what can we do to evolve with our customer needs? What are they doing that is going to require us to do things differently or more advanced on our side? But lastly, it's always looking up to determine what are we not doing today that we can maybe venture into that further builds that partnership or the stickiness of that partnership, but also potentially turns into another revenue stream for us. So we're always keeping our eye up for those type of opportunities as they come along. And one of the things that we're thankful with our leadership, whether it's MSP or Mansfield as a whole, is that it's always with a what's next kind of an attitude, right? We're already at now you can, but I look forward on what's next. What can we do for you going forward that's going to expand our partnership and make ourselves even a more valued partner of your organization?
Thomas, what's one thing you wish more people knew about MSP?
What I wish more people knew about organization are the folks that you don't necessarily see on the streets every day. And when I say streets on the every day, those are our sales reps that are out visiting our customers. There is a whole army of family members in the operations side of our business, whether it's our warehouse, whether it's our drivers, whether it's our billing side of our business, our accounting side of the business. This organization is made up of some really, really good, great people. And I invite our customers, right? Give us a heads up so we can clean house before you come over. But we'd love to have you come and just meet some of our folks that work uh, on a daily basis on making sure that they get it right first time, which has a direct impact on our customer satisfaction, right? Uh, it's great for our sales reps to be out there on the streets visiting our customers, which they're supposed to do, and they do a great job of doing that. But there's so much more to Mansfield. It's the typical iceberg analogy where that much sticks out above the water, but there's so much more below. What I'm talking about at Mansfield Service Partners is what's below that makes our business a success day after day. Those I would love for an opportunity for more of our customers and our potential customers to get to know these people on how good they are and how hard they work just to make sure that the organization delivers its best.
Yeah, and I can speak to that just coming from the corporate office in Gainesville. One thing we always talk about at Mansfield is just culture in general and how it is a family-owned business, but it's a family culture in general.
Absolutely.
And I don't miss a beat when I come to the Houston office or any other office. It just feels like family
Yep.
everywhere you go.
Well,
So,
and that's the thing, right, Cindy? If more people can share in that with us, that would be a fantastic thing. And we'll find a way. We'll get there.
how can potential customers or partners get in touch with you if they're interested in what we talked about today?
Well, the best way is just to call our corporate headquarters and ask for myself, right? I'm also at Thomas.Browder at Mansfield.Energy. You can always reach out to me for any type of questions that you might have. I'd be happy to answer those for you, try to give you some type of guidance on what we can do to affect improvement in your business.
Well, thanks for joining us, Thomas.
No, it was an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
A big thank you to Thomas Browder for joining us and sharing valuable insights into the company's history, services, and industry expertise. From their commitment to reliable fuel supply and logistics to their strong partnerships, Mansfield Service Partners plays a crucial role in keeping businesses running efficiently. If you're interested in learning more about MSP's fuel and lubricant solutions, be sure to visit msp.energy or reach out to them directly. And of course, if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share FUELSCast with your colleagues and friends. We love bringing you these conversations, and your support helps us keep the energy flowing. Literally. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Until then, bigger reach, broader solutions, better advice. Now you can.